Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your f***ing cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now.
You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
All right, folks. Well, as you can see, I have my boy Logan hanging out with me today. Last go around on Saturday was rough. You just had Jay McLovin, and we all know one Jay McLovin is too much Jay McLovin. We need somebody to balance this crap out. And that's what I got tonight. I got Babyface Logan. What is up, my brother?
What's going on, Jay? A wild day just today in the world of sports. The weekend, you had the NFL regular season coming to an end, and probably the most underwhelming national championship in probably, though it's going to be history, that was played last night in California. But I'm ready to it, man. We have a lot to talk about, a lot of news that's happened just really recently, and it's another great Tuesday edition of Unscripted, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And speaking of which, let's just crank this bad boy up. Let's get it going, man.
What's up? What we got first here? Obviously.
Man, what a time to be alive. You kind of let the cat out of the bag, shall we say, in the intro, but I don't care. Let's get into it. Carlos Correa. Oh, what a time to be alive. Logan, this chump.
Hey, Jay, I will say, last Thursday, I forget who said something about Correa being on the Mets. I'm like, are we sure about that? And lo and behold, Jay McLovin.
You know, and he thought he was pulling a slick one, getting the Mets in so quick to salvage, you know, the leftover conversation that he had just finished up with them before he accepted the Giants offer. Then he says, hey, yo, Giants, on the down low, I think I'm going to come play for you anyway, man. Why don't you just go ahead and come in here? Let's get this contract going. We'll make magic happen. And here comes the Mets. Oh, absolutely, Carlos. Anything for Carlos Correa.
We'll give you more money.
We'll get it for you. Oh, by the way, Carlos, I'm so sorry to tell you we can't keep you because you got a gimped up leg, which is why the Giants couldn't keep you. Only for you to go back to your stepchild of a mother you call the Twins.
And also, too, Jay, he went for significantly less money and about half the years, right? So I believe in San Francisco originally it was like a 13-year deal worth, we'll say, like $350, right? We'll say for that. Then in New York it was like 12 for $300. And then for this one, he goes, it was like 6 years and like 130 million, something like that. Like it was. I mean, I understand, right? Taking the years because I wouldn't want to sign a 13-year deal, bro. That's just me. But oh my God.
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. I'm sorry. I'm laughing. Anytime a man gets less than half of what he was seeking for from the Twins, oh my God, what a time to be alive.
So I have it here, Jay. And also check us out on TikTok, right? We
Hey, you saying check out what, Logan?
I said just the amount of money that he lost in this. Oh my goodness, man. He's eligible, Jay, he's eligible. He's going to be getting $200 million for 6 years, right? Not a bad deal.
Nah.
He's eligible for 270, perhaps. So he's still getting a good bit of money. It's not as much, obviously, but it is significantly less years. It's about 5-6 years less. So it is the biggest question mark in sports, man. I mean, if I'm the Giants, my tears are all dried up, and now I'm just laughing at the Mets. And if I'm the Mets, bro, if I'm the Mets, I am peeved because they had this all planned out. They were going to have Lindor go to third, have Correa at short, and they were going to have a stacked lineup. So who's going to be that last infielder there, Jay? Who is it? Who? We don't know. We don't know.
Let me ask you this: who got the better end of that? No, Gonzo. Good evening, sir. Thank you for showing up. How you doing, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good, brother. We're making fun of the Mets.
We're peachy keen. Yes, we're making fun of the Mets. We're making fun of Carlos. We're making fun of everything. I got to tell you, Gonzo, I cannot tell you how happy the Astros organization is, chilling, sitting back with Mr. Pena, relaxing, while Carlos is out there scrambling, trying to find anybody and everybody that will finally give him a damn contract. How good is life?
Correa is playing the Bachelorette right now.
Yeah, I think he messed up last year. Last year was when he had his highest value, and then it wasn't what he thought it was going to be. And he thought it'd be better this year, but now
and he did get more money. He just didn't want it.
Yeah, well, and he can't make it. He couldn't make it through a physical, and he wanted 10 years.
Yeah, this whole physical thing, I still don't understand it because it's supposedly from something that happened almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
because they shattered that bone, and I think it might have been you that was giving me the full dealie on it, but those plates and everything, he's going to miss some time. He's going to have to go through surgery. So he's going to miss 1 year off that 6-year deal, 5-year deal, whatever it is. So who missed that?
He's going to miss some time.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't a problem in his other physicals for his?
I was about to say he was able to agree on the contracts, but how? I mean, if I don't know, man. If you're able to agree not just on one, but two, which I don't remember the last time if this has even happened in baseball, that you agree to two separate contracts within a month of each other, and then you go back to the team that you originally left.
But I would not be surprised if the 1-year deals he was getting was basically the team, or let's say the Twins or whoever, telling him, hey, look, you got a jacked up leg. We can't go long term with you because of this. And this is the reason why. And he says, okay, fine, I'll go test out on a free agent market and see what I get anyway. And I think he does that. And I think it comes back and it's basically the same thing as what he was being told probably when he was signing those 1-year deals. Hey, we'll do a 1 year on you, but I'm not doing anything more than that because of the extent of damage that's in your foot. We won't see the end of that contract, or we'll put ourselves in a bind with your contract. So, no, we can't do that, Carlos. And then Carlos gets pissed off and goes to the next team and the next team and the next team to see who will finally take him. And I think that's kind of where we are, is the Twins will take him, but it's going to be for far less than what he was looking for.
Yeah, and it looks like this fiasco is finally over now, I would hope. But, I mean, you can't rule anything out, kid.
I'm loving it because I'll tell you right now, the Astros got rid of him at the perfect time. They didn't have to pay all that money. They get a much younger guy. He's cheaper. We can win a World Series around him. And meanwhile, Carlos is out there just trying to find the next big team. Okay, well, you found the next big team. It's called Minnesota. God, I hope you enjoy winter weathers there.
Minnesota.
What a time to be alive. Moving on just a little bit. I got a quick question, and I think this was actually kind of posed a little bit, or I posed it earlier on the afternoon show that I was going to talk about it here. But before I do so, let me just say congratulations to Kenny of the Fantasy Football League. Kenny, I'm sorry I don't remember your last name, but it doesn't matter. I know your name is Kenny. I know your team was Circle the Wagons. You did a hell of a good job, Logan. You almost got it, you son of a bitch.
I almost had it, Jay. And let me just say, Brian Dable and the New York Giants. That's what screwed me over, Jay. I had to scramble and pick up a running back because they put Saquon on the inactive list. I think he was top 5 in the league in terms of points. And I lost one of my money makers. It was a close game, brother. It was a close game. Much love to Kenny, though. Hell of a team, hell of a game. And like I said, man, two back-to-back years, one of us got in the finals, but we couldn't pull it off. Maybe year 3. But hey, we're still rocking here.
We put a good run in on it, though.
We did.
A good run on it, man. I know we had Robert Strite. Scott. We had Robert Strite who had cooked me up. He was. He had
a good run.
Gonzo was in there for a hot minute. He did actually. I think he eclipsed right there at the bottom of the playoff, but he wasn't Gonzo. You were in the playoff bracket, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Gonzo in there. We had you in there. There's quite a few of us in that championship or playoff round from Unscripted. So I don't feel so bad. It is what it is.
And also, too, Jay, we're just going to go ahead and put it out here now. Next year, we're not doing a 20-team league, unfortunately.
No more
whoever was excited for that. It was good on paper. We were able to get the fans all involved, some of our friends also. But, some people just didn't play, weren't able to do any trades. And just, if you're like a Damien, you went winless the whole year. We basically, we're going to shorten it. We're not sure how many teams. We've talked about 12. We haven't really set that quite yet. We still have a lot of time. But we just want to shorten the amount of teams. That way we can, if something happens, like with me, right? If I'm in a big game and my star running back isn't playing, I can pick someone up who is a better caliber than what I got, right? And
I will say, playing that 20-team league, though, it did give me a new perspective on scouting.
Yes, it did.
Player developments and players that are out there that I normally may not have looked at as close. So there was some advantages playing the 20-team league. But I wouldn't do it again. Once was enough in my book. But
I say we do 2 10-team leagues and put a few guys from Unscripted in each one so we can try to win both leagues.
That's not a bad idea, Chris. We'll have to flesh that out. That might be the move.
That may be a viable option. And then the winner out of both teams, whoever scored the most points, would then get the ultimate trophy.
Like I said, we still got a whole year to figure this out.
But like Logan said, it will be much less teams, number one. And number 2, we are going to a trophy this time. It's going to be a trophy that we pass around. I'm even thinking about doing like a WWE style belt.
Get a belt. Yeah, there we go.
And we just engrave our names on the belt as past winners. So we'll look into something maybe even like that. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to be able to take the belt, take the trophy, take all the pictures you want with it. It'll be plastered over Facebook and on our Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Then you'll send me back the belt before the start of the next season, but your name will always stay engraved on it. And we're just going to keep adding the winners list to that thing. And you'll always have your picture up, but then your name will always be on the trophy. So
that's a big move there.
I think we're going to probably, most likely, I think that seems feasible to do. So we'll check into that and see how that plays out. But I will say this, Kenny, Kenny, you did get your pick of jersey. You wound up selecting the number 14 Stephon Diggs away jersey for Buffalo Bills. That has been ordered today, and that jersey at some point will be mailed to Frankie Cruz Jr. up there in Mechanicsville, New York. And Frankie, I know you guys live close to each other. Frankie will make sure that you get your jersey. I only ask that you take a picture of Frankie with the jersey so that we can put it on Twitter and announce to everybody that, hey, this was the winner. Here is his jersey. And, man, we're going to start documenting this on our Twitter page. So,
yes, we are.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good shit. I'm excited about it, Logan.
Yeah, man. Like I said, this year was just a wild year with all the teams, all the players and everything. But next year, like I said, we're getting an actual trophy involved, and it's going to be fun next year, man. But I'm excited for it.
Pass that trophy around and see everybody, the winner, and every time they get there, and it's always going to be on Twitter. So you have a Twitter page of all the past winners with the trophy. It's gonna be cool, man. Like I said,
we're definitely going to be up in the value of it. That's for sure.
Maybe I can win it one time. Just let me win one
time. Maybe then.
Damn time, just one time. I've gotten close, Logan. I've always gotten close. I've always had a good competitive team to put on the field, but I just could never quite get over that hump. That I think the Tinker Toys was my best opportunity to get over the hump, but
it is what it is.
It was just too hard. I got too far down the chute. Like you said, a lot of my players got hurt. I was trying to find replacement players. By the time I got to the end of the damn league, I was like a patchwork of
hobbling.
I actually drafted. So.
Hey, Jay, and speaking of championships, I think it's a good segue into our next breaking news topic here. The game of the century last night, right, fellas? And by game of the century, I mean a team that almost put up a century mark of points.
Man, that game was incredible. It was rough. I only watched the first 3 quarters of it. I couldn't watch the fourth quarter. It was.
I pray to God everyone took the over on that one.
God.
Man,
I took
the
Oh, Chris, no!
I picked the
What
under
was the line
62.5, and Georgia beat it by themselves.
Georgia beat it just by itself, yeah. Oh, man, that's a tough one. But Jay, kick things off, brother. Talk about the game. I know you were wanting your boys TCU. You were adopting them, right? I know you're a Longhorns fan, obviously, but they're representing Texas.
Yeah. Here's the way I look at it, man. Max Duggan, look, it came down to his shoulders. It really did. It came down to, can he go out there and perform like a national champion? And he didn't perform that way, and neither did the rest of TCU, to be honest with you. Max Duggan gave you, I think it was 152 yards on 14 of 22 and 2 interceptions. He gave you 36 yards, or they actually had 36 yards altogether on the ground rushing for TCU, and you can't win like that. There's no way. No. That's why they lost 65-7, because then you have Bennett, who goes out there and gives you 304 yards, 4 touchdowns in the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground with 39 rushing. I mean, with a guy who gives you 6 damn touchdowns, how do you win against somebody who's giving you 6 freaking damn touchdowns just by himself? To it, I mean, it's credit. And then you can't overlook the tight end Bowers. We didn't even know he was going to play, but then he goes off for 152 or so and a touchdown. Again, it's incredible to me that how well they did. It's incredible to me where they've come from in terms of TCU being unranked at one point and then actually getting to the national title game. You know how hard it is to go from unranked to the national title game? That's damn near almost unheard of.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And like I said, I mean, obviously, hats off to TCU. No one even thought they'd beat Michigan.
I think TCU thought they'd beat Michigan.
I'm about to say, but everyone besides TCU, right? And that's the thing, kind of the yin and the yang, right? Georgia had one of their worst performances against Ohio State, and they still won. And TCU had the game of their life against Michigan. And obviously, we saw how it played out last night with Georgia just absolutely opening up a can on them for all 4 quarters, mind you. It's not even, they didn't even stop. Jay, they went for it on 4th and 5 when they were up by 40. No, they didn't even take out the starters.
No, even when they took the starters out, they kept scoring points.
It was stupid. It was just stupid.
It was insane.
TCU fell apart, and I think a lot of that was they just got. You know what I think a lot of it is that they got down so hard when it was like in the mid 30s, and it was like 30-something to 7, 20-something to 7. I think probably more when it was like around 24-7. I think you could just see where TCU lost that fight. Like they lost that internal fight within themselves. And when you lose that internal fight within yourself, how are you going to come back and win the game? It's just not going to happen. And I think that's what happened to TCU. I think Georgia came out so fast, so hard, so ready to go that TCU just could not live up to that expectation. And I think we saw what, the end result is of happening. My question for Gonzo, let me ask you this, Gonzo, man. You saw the historic performance like I just told you about, 304 yards on the ground or in the air, 39 yards on the ground. The result was 6 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 4 passing for Stetson Bennett. Number one, we can't go back and redo the Heisman, but man, I mean, you got to believe that even if he's not the Heisman to Caleb Williams, he had to be a close runner-up to that. And secondly, where does that now? What is this performance? What is this back-to-back championships? This almost 400 yards, all-purpose yards, 6 touchdowns. Where does that now, or how does that affect Stetson Bennett's draft status? Like, where do you think he gets drafted now at this point?
I personally think he's going to get drafted probably around fourth or fifth round. I know a lot of people think even later, or maybe not even. A lot of people didn't even think he was going to get drafted, which to me, I don't understand why he's so gets so disrespected.
Right.
I mean, the dude completed 68% of his passes. Led a team to 2 national championships. Now, yeah, he had to go to junior college for a year. I know all that story, but it's about where you are, not where you've been. That was back then. Look where he put himself now. He's going to go down as one of the best ever in the college football playoffs.
Absolutely.
With the games that he's had, back to back.
Again, I know college is different than NFL, but, other quarterbacks have come out of Georgia to make it. Stafford was the most recent one. Tarkenton was the one before that. But again, the guy is he pro ready? Is Stetson Bennett a pro ready quarterback, or is he a backup? I think he could be pro ready, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets lumped into the backup category.
And see, that's the thing too, Jay. I think he has to be pro ready, and I say that because one, he's older than a lot of guys who are getting drafted. He is 25, right? So if you're going to draft someone who is older, just it's not like he's ancient, but he is older than if you were drafted a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old, et cetera, et cetera. But like you said, you cannot ignore these last 2 seasons, right? I mean, he's only gotten, I think, 3 losses in total in his whole career at Georgia. Obviously went undefeated this year, back-to-back championships, also back-to-back offensive MVPs in the game also. So, I mean, when the lights are
MVP.
Yeah,
offensive MVP in every basketball playoff game he's played.
Right, and I think I know it's not going to be spot on, but the quote he had I thought was great. He said, "We were looking for someone to beat us for months, and we ran out of games." That lets me know he's got that fight in him, and I mean, you could just see that he with each game he grew confident more and more. And I mean, obviously, I think he's went from a guy who could barely get on the field to someone who's probably going to get a statue one day in Athens, and obviously one of the best, if not, people might say the best quarterback in Georgia history when it's all said and done.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a great story, the final chapter written now, and I don't think he's going to be a first round selection. I think that the performance last night could have moved him up into round 2. I think maybe 2 or 3. I don't think he'll go a little bit later. But I would not surprise me if he slips, though, just because the age, like I said. But I think he's definitely improved his draft stock more than a lot of other quarterbacks, this past year, more than Bryce Young, more than even Caleb Williams and whatnot, just based off of the postseason success that he had. Because, I mean, Georgia had a great defense last year, and they still had a really good one this year. But, I mean, he got it done with his arm, right? He got it done with his playmaking ability. You're responsible for 6 touchdowns for crying out loud. I mean, he's a good player, and I think that whoever takes a shot on him is either going to get a good quarterback or, maybe if he is going to be a backup, I think he'll be a journeyman. He'll be there for a long time.
Yeah, and, and I'm going to segue here for a minute to another team that kind of, blew the Cheerios a little bit was the Houston Texans. They had the number 1 draft pick.
Lovie Smith helping out the Bears.
Lined out, right? They're conducting interviews. They're thinking how they're going to do this, how they're going to do that. And what does Lovie go? He goes out there and gets them a win and costs them the number 1 pick. Now they got to draft at number 2. And now Chicago gets the number 1 pick. And now you got to imagine all the scenarios that's going to come out of that. Does Chicago trade the pick? If they do, does Seattle pick up on it? And can they finagle a third and a 12th overall pick for a first overall pick? I mean, there's so many ways it can go, right?
I'm in the camp, Jay, that I don't think Chicago holds on to this. They don't need a quarterback. You don't need a quarterback, right? I think if you can get multiple picks for this, you take it. I mean, because your team needs more than just one player. Let's be real here.
Right.
And the Texans, they need a quarterback, man. Davis Mills ain't it, right? We've seen he's not the solution at quarterback. So I don't know. They're going to have a couple of selections, but obviously you would rather want that number one. So someone like Seattle, Las Vegas. I mean, hell, there's a bunch of teams. Tennessee. I mean, there's a lot of teams who need a quarterback who have a few draft picks who could trade up. So Lovie Smith helping out his old squad with the Bears. Shout out to Damian getting them 1 overall pick for your team. And man, just man, if you're a Texans fan, I'm sorry. That's it, man. I am just sorry for your franchise.
Well, here's the deal, right? If they trade back to number 3, and if they can get number 3 and number 12, and by the way, if you don't get 3 and 12, Logan, if you're Chicago, do you make that deal? I don't think I'd make that deal.
I would want 3 and 12. I mean, if I'm giving you the number 1 overall pick,
I'm not going to give you number 1 when
if I'm giving you the best,
incentivize it and give me number 12 as well, so I have something to feel good about this.
If I'm Chicago, sorry, go ahead, Logan.
No, I'm just saying if I would, that's what I would get minimum. My God, I mean, if I'm giving you a free shot at literally anybody you want in the draft, I want at least your first round, your first 2 first rounders, and maybe a late round pick, right? Or some cash or something. But no, I mean the Chicago's got a lot of interesting stuff coming up this offseason. They have a lot of money to spend. Let's not forget that, and they have this number 1 pick dangling over everyone's heads. So we'll see we'll see if they keep it or if they throw it away to someone.
And if I'm Chicago, it's starting out at least 3 first round picks because that's what San Francisco gave up to move up to get Trey Lance at with the 3rd pick.
Hey, that's a good point.
You're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So maybe I take the number 1. I think I would take. I would ask for Seattle's 2 number 1 picks this year and their number 1 pick next year. That way, I know I get Will Anderson at the number 3. I could probably drum up a really good offensive lineman at the number 12, and maybe I get another offensive lineman in the 2nd round, along with maybe a wide receiver. But if nothing else, I know next year I'm going to come back and get my number 1 wide receiver with that newly minted pick I just got. So there's a lot of ways that Chicago could come out of this, looking pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. And there's also a way that Seattle comes out of this because they get their generational player that they could throw with Tyler Lockett, Metcalf, and company. And Walker the third, which we know is a budding superstar at that running back. And now Seattle all of a sudden positions themselves, in a really good spot for the next 5 to 6 years,
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Seattle we thought was a team that was dead in the water, and now they might be one of the more kind of lucrative teams this next year.
Right, absolutely. And then if you're Seattle, you may be thinking to yourself, Gonzo, hey, look, I got Geno Smith. Look how well we did with Geno Smith last year. Maybe we just need a couple of more front pieces, maybe on that offensive line, or maybe we need a couple of pieces on the defense. Maybe they start tweaking other positional needs and keep Geno and ride out with Geno. I mean, he hasn't lost, and he's still in the playoffs. So he's still playing. So we still don't really know what we got with Geno in the playoffs even. God, what a time. What a time. What a time to be alive. Jeez Louise, man. Tony says, why would Seattle do it? I think they do it because they want that long-term quarterback. And Bryce Young, Stroud, those are two quarterbacks that you really have to look pretty damn close at because those could be your generational guys you're bringing in. So I think that's probably why they would do it. The only reason I think they wouldn't do it is if they wanted to upgrade other pieces and they felt like, you know what, I don't have to have that high-dollar playmaker. I can do with what I got with Geno Smith. So there are a couple of different ways that Seattle can play that.
Well, see, that's where we differ because I don't see. That's where we differ because I don't see either one of these guys as generational talent.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Bryce Young could be a generational talent. He does have that mental mindset that can give you what you want. And I think what C.J. Stroud did on his last performance looked pretty damn good. I don't know. Generational, it's hard to say, right? Because we haven't even played one NFL down. But they definitely do look like some really good high-dollar prospects in there, though. Tony says, "Look what Seattle can get with third and 12." Yeah, exactly. That's my point. I mean, if they feel like they don't need Bryce or they don't need CJ, then I think they start looking at, okay, well then what are our other positional needs for? And I think that's where Seattle really has to do some soul searching within the organization to even see if they want to make a move at number 1, or do they feel like 3 and 12 will get them a lot closer? Which I think it could. I mean, I think Geno Smith has done a great job this year, so I don't know why they couldn't make that work. Broncos are interviewing Jim Harbaugh. Now, Jim Harbaugh just turned down the Carolina Panthers, kind of, sort of, in a way, right? They said it was not a technical interview, so they really couldn't say no to it. But let's just say that, Charlotte is definitely out of the running. And then they kind of turned their attention to Broncos. The Broncos have already sought to interview Sean Payton. They got the permission granted from New Orleans, but they're also bringing in Harbaugh. They want to take a look at Harbaugh. If you're Harbaugh, why would you even agree to go to talk to the Broncos if your heart is set in stone to stay there at Michigan, Logan?
I mean, I get that he's wanting to just kind of look around and see who would kind of want his services. But if you say you're going to stay somewhere, man, don't have the players who've already signed up to be in the program. Don't lead them on like that, come on. But I think he'd be a better fit in Denver than Carolina, anyways. I think that Carolina's done a good job with their interim coach. I mean, they ended the season strong, right? I mean, even after trading away their best player in McCaffrey, they still did a pretty good job this season. And for Denver, I mean, they were probably one of, if not the most, disappointing teams in the league this year. Especially with, Wilson with that giant contract you gave him, year one, definite flop. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was not good. And obviously you fired your head coach midway through the season, one of only, 5 or 6 times throughout the entire history of the NFL. I think they're still looking for a GM, right? For the time being, are they still looking for a GM?
Yeah, they are. I believe you're right.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of turmoil going on there in Denver, and I'm
looking for a GM and coach in Arizona. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
On the GM, are they on the GM lookout as well?
Arizona, I think they fired their GM today, didn't they? Correct?
Arizona.
Yeah,
I know Arizona or both. I don't
know who's in more worse of a mess, Arizona or Denver. I mean, those two franchises are in the mud right now. I mean, I've been saying for a while now, I thought the Cardinals would be a pretty good team. I thought they were going to be better this year, but they stunk up the joint. I mean, Kyler Murray, there was that whole thing early in the year with his homework clause and what like that, and is it real, is it not? Kingsbury just not living up to expectations. His team floundered in the second half of the season again. If you look at his stats throughout his career, his first, I think it's the first 7 games, his team did pretty solid. The last 7, they fall apart. And this was no exception. I mean, you've got Hopkins, who is still, he's still a great receiver, but he's getting older day by day. I mean, your defense, you're losing Watt, obviously. You have Budda Baker and a few other good pieces. But, obviously, it did not work with Kingsbury. So you got to look around for someone else. And I don't know where you even go. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm definitely there with you. And I think Tony said, too, it's definitely a business, and they're out to make money. And I think Seattle probably does, or Seattle probably could tell Chicago, hey, look, I'll give you the 3. I'm not giving you the 12 because I still feel like I don't even need to give you the 3. I feel like you're not going to take a quarterback at 1. Houston's going to take a quarterback at 2. So that leaves me at number 3. I'm either getting Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. So maybe I don't give you 3 and 12. Maybe I just hang on to 3 and I take the difference between CJ and Bryce Young. And then that number 12, I go get whatever the positional need I need. So you're right. I mean, I don't think Seattle has to trade out of it. I think they only trade out of it if they feel like, they want Bryce specifically, and they're scared that Houston could go for Bryce. And then maybe that would be the reason they would want to move up. That's the only reason I could think of, that they would go from 3 to 1 especially when there's 2 top 10 quarterbacks, on the market right there. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
And then Jay, on Jim Harbaugh, I think another reason you go take an interview, even if you're planning on staying at Michigan, is you got to remember he took a pay cut to stay at Michigan, so he could be using this as leverage on Michigan as well to be trying to get some of his money back.
That's right, because correct me if I'm wrong, Gonzo, but weren't the reports out there of Michigan or not Michigan, but Denver offering him $20 million a year?
Well, there were reports of that, but they interviewed him today. We'll see what happens. But
yeah.
But even if he wants to stay at Michigan, why not take this interview, use some leverage against Michigan to get more money?
Oh, if Denver's offering him 20, I'd probably go back to Michigan and say, look, you give me 13, 14, 15,
right.
13, 14, 15 million a year, and I'll stay on with you guys.
Because I mean, look, Jay. I mean, before last year, I was a very heavy critic of Harbaugh because he had all this talent, had all this money, but he couldn't do nothing with it.
Right.
But these past 2 years, his team has been a top 4 team in college football. There's no denying that. So if
I'm not gonna lie, I'm hoping he goes to the Colts, but.
I mean, there have been reports, Chris, that you might be keeping Saturday.
I'm actually going to throw this topic on to Thursday.
All right.
Hey, just be on the lookout and be just to get your mind rolling. No answers, please, no answers. But
right.
Top 5 QBs under pressure for the Super Bowl. Top 5 QBs right now that are under pressure to win the Super Bowl. Start putting your list of 5 together. I'll give you a couple of days. That way you can solidify the ranking in which you'll put them, and then we'll revisit Thursday and we will talk about that and see what everybody got. NFL news though. I do want to talk a little bit NFL though. And what I wanted to talk about was Miami and Jacksonville wrapped up their playoffs. I believe Miami got in and Jacksonville both got in, correct? I think Miami got 7 and Jacksonville got 4, I believe it was.
Yeah, because Jacksonville won the division.
Yeah, so that puts them at the 4th spot, and then I think Miami got this. They did wind up, I think, securing that 7th spot.
Yeah, because I think
Chargers didn't get in, and
because New York and New England, I don't think either of them got in.
So, man, that's crazy right there. Let me ask you this. Out of Miami and Jacksonville, who do you think goes further in the playoffs? Not necessarily the Super Bowl, but, who do you think goes further in the playoffs?
Chris, I'll let you take this one first.
I think Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is going to beat the Chargers. I trust Doug Peterson more than I do Brandon Staley. And I think the Dolphins are going to have a tough time against the Bills in the first round of the playoffs. So I think Jacksonville is going to be the team out of them two that advances. I don't know if Jacksonville will win a second game, but I do think Jacksonville has a good chance of beating the Chargers.
Yeah, and I'm gonna piggyback off Chris there, man. I think Jacksonville has really kind of came into their own in the last handful of weeks. I mean, they went from a team who early on in the season looked like they weren't going to do nothing to all of a sudden win the freaking division. So obviously they're the one of, if not the hottest team you could argue in football right now. I think they're rallying around their coach, Lawrence, who's playing a lot better than he has, obviously in his first year in the first few games this season. And for Miami, it's just we don't know if Tua's going to be around. He's been off and on, obviously, we know. And I mean, that's a big factor. How is your defense going to play out also? I mean, Miami's been falling off hard in the last 7-8 weeks. Meanwhile, Jacksonville's been on a tear. So I got to ride the hot hand. I would have to go with Jacksonville going a little bit further than Miami right now.
Yeah, I'm a jump on your bandwagon too, and they're only going to get scarier once you introduce Calvin Ridley next year into that equation.
That's a good point. I forgot about him.
Coming off of his thing, so they're going to amp that up down there as well.
I don't know about that, man.
I don't know if Tua needs to play. I don't know. Is it better just to sit him and let him recuperate next year? But
I know after the last reports I've seen, he's still in concussion protocol.
Yeah, so it ain't looking good with the games in a handful of days. So it ain't looking too bright. Unfortunately, like I want to see him healthy again, man.
Oh man, hey, we all want
Not
him to
even
get.
just for being on the field, man. He's had a lot of head issues last handful of seasons, man. That's scary.
Anthony Price does chime in that Scott Turner got fired, so there must be a God looking out for Washington. Yeah, Washington has a lot of issues. I don't think Turner was your biggest issue. I still feel like Ron Rivera is a little bit bigger issue down there. That's just my opinion.
I think Ron Rivera's a good coach. I like Ron Rivera.
I don't know, man. I think he's a little stuck in his ways. I think he's a little antiquated, much like McCarthy is. And I don't think that – I mean, I like him as a person. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a hell of a guy. Got a lot of competitive spirit. But I think the game of football is slowly passing Ron Rivera, though.
I think he's too good of a person to be with this franchise, right? And with all the stuff they've had going on. Also, too, I mean, we said a few weeks ago that – I don't think he's going to be on a long-term leash for them. I don't remember the last time he even had a winning season. And whoever, I don't know if it was Rivera, the GM, whoever it was that signed up on that horrible Carson Wentz deal. I mean, Oh my God, that needs to be stained on your reputation forever because that brother is still going to be with you for years.
Yeah, it does.
No,
I think it does say, hey, your dad says he hopes Tua will be okay. We hope so too, Tony.
Yes, we do.
I think it was a smart move to get rid of Scott Turner.
Yes, because that offense was
I think that was something that actually hurt Rivera ever since he's been head coach because he also had him in Carolina, and it's like, man, you need to get a new offensive coordinator because under Scott Turner and even with Norv Turner, them offenses just never could get in rhythm. So I think getting a new offensive coordinator could really help.
Yeah.
I really wanted Tua to get back into this. This is the first time since 2016, guys, that Miami's even been in the playoffs. And then when you finally get there, and then Tua goes through something like this, it breaks your heart. I really hope and I pray that Miami can win their wild card game, and hopefully that will give enough time for Tua maybe to make a possible reemergence. Yeah. And gather up with this team again because you hate to see him go out like this. You hate to see Miami go out like this on a freak injury, concussion type injury. It's like that's not the way you want to end your season, And I know Rob's hurt over that.
And also, Mike McDaniel, first year coach, getting into the playoffs. Didn't they have the same record last year or something very similar? I believe. I know it wasn't that big of a difference.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, they were one of the best teams in the first half, and in the second half, everything just kind of fell apart with injuries and whatnot, unfortunately. But I mean, watch out though, man, because like you said, Miami could be a good team next year, a better team next year if they're fully healthy.
Let me raise this. I think we need to talk about this. Tom Brady, the GOAT, the Magnificato, the orchestra maestro himself. Is basically just gone through his first losing season as the starting quarterback in the NFL. This is Tom Brady's first losing season. Yes, he made the playoffs, and we're congratulatory of that, but he basically made it into the playoffs with a losing record, and I don't know if that's something to be happy or proud about. If anything, you got to think that he's wanting to get in that Super Bowl trophy that much more because it will justify this basically shitty, crappy season that Brady has gone through. So, first losing season, guys, in the books for Tom. What do you think?
Took him long enough, man. Jesus Christ. 23 years? Finally get your first losing season? Dang.
Wow. Oh, and then Tony says that Brady's going to be the next football quarterback for the Raiders.
That's what I think as well.
Hey, man. As long as he doesn't give us another losing season, I don't care.
But Jay, if you look at it. Oh, go ahead, Logan.
No, man. John said, well, it was better than Rodgers. Ooh, Jay, that could be a topic for Thursday, just comparing those two this season. Because both those two had a down year, right? I'm not saying they were the worst in the league, but definitely not up to the caliber we're used to, right? I mean, Rodgers won, back-to-back MVPs last year? 21-20?
Yeah.
And Brady, we all know what he's about. We'll see what he can do in the playoffs, though, because if he can have a good playoff run, I think you can kind of watch what he did this season, right?
Go But honestly, if you look at it, Brady really didn't have that bad of a year. Tampa's problem was they couldn't score in the red zone. If you look at Brady, he threw for 4,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 picks, and had a 90 QB rating. So it wasn't like he had a terrible season. It was just for some reason the offense could never get going, and that defense didn't live up to what they were last year.
Yeah,
right. And also too, I mean, obviously we gotta say, for as long as he's been going, that is still super impressive to not just fall off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to take anything away from.
No, I know you're not.
I mean, we know that he's done a good job in position. I'm just saying it just sucks that he finally meets his first losing season. But even when it sucks for Tom, he still finds his way into the damn playoffs. So
hey, also, I just can't believe that 3/4 of the NFC South went 7-10. That is wild to me.
Hey, you know what I feel wild is that a 7-8 team could actually make a play for the Super Bowl. That is freaking wild.
Jay, here's what else is wild. Not only does Tom Brady get in the playoff, he gets to play against the Cowboys that have never beat him before.
Ooh.
Be alive.
Hey,
you know what? I'm glad you said that, because now that you said it, the Cowboys will win.
Hey, Jay, I'm gonna just say on Thursday, I want you to come prepared, Michael Irvin style, with a speech for your Cowboys, more specifically your two offensive boys with Prescott and Elliott. Because I think if you can give them an insane hype message, that might pull them out over the top. I'm just saying.
Prescott,
get your promos ready.
I'll come up with a little win speech for
there we go.
I think because they do play Monday. I think he's having trouble seeing the right jerseys.
Hey, let me ask you this. Hey, since we're talking about jerseys or whatever, so Dallas plays their game on Monday. Wow, man, what's Sunday going to look like leading up to Monday? Is there playoff games on Saturday as well?
Yeah, two Saturdays.
Yeah, so we got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday all over again, right?
Two Saturday, 3 Sunday, and then 1 Monday.
Oh, jeez Louise, man. What a time to be.
Hey, this weekend's going to be insane.
Hey, listen, guys, as long as the Cowboys are in it, we're 0-0. There's still a chance. Let's go.
Dude, that's just the precursor for the hype message right there.
God, what a time to be alive. Okay, let me ask you this, guys. New England did not make the playoffs. They didn't make it. Is this safe to say that the failed experiment of having Patricia and Joe Judge as your offensive coordinators, is that over with? And do they get another offensive coordinator going into next season?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Jay. Because ever since Tom left, right, New England's been kind of just spinning their wheels. Mac Jones, I think, is still the right choice, right? He's still been good. Stevenson had a good breakout year, helped me out a lot in fantasy. But they still have a few pieces there, Jay, that they need to fix on offense. I mean, wide receiver-wise, you really still don't have that one true megastar you need. Obviously, the defense has some holes also. And, I mean, if you're Belichick, how much longer do you want to keep doing this for? I don't know, Jay. He's got to be in his 60s, 70s. I mean, he's getting up there in age, man. And
yeah, he's definitely getting up there in age.
And I mean, how many coordinators can you keep churning in and out before something good happens in the limited years you got left to coach football? I mean, I don't think, obviously Patricia wasn't a good fit for Detroit. We saw they were right there at the cusp of getting on the playoffs with Bite Your Kneecaps, Dan Campbell. Big win for them, by the way. But Joe Judge didn't do nothing. Matt Patricia really ain't done much. I mean, I never thought these guys were going to be top of the league in offense. But, I mean, they got some holes they got to fix, Jay. So, honestly, I would look around. I would see who else I could get because it didn't work out this year.
Couple of things real quick. Anthony Price says, does he think I think Pollard is going to get re-signed? Of course Pollard gets re-signed. Dallas would be stupid not to resign him. Yes. Do I think Pollard gets re-signed? I absolutely, unequivocally believe that Pollard does get signed. Dak will lose it for them tomorrow. Screw you, John Suggs. Whatever. Screw you. Screw you. But no, John Suggs. Hey, is it possible? Of course, it's possible. I mean, with Dallas, anything is possible. That's why I get so scared every time we go into the playoffs. Anything is possible. Then he goes on to say Seahawks versus Niners, Chargers versus the Jags Saturday. Good God, Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. That Seahawks 49ers, that putting Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, against former Mr. Irrelevant and Geno Smith, the reborn story. Could you not ask for a better storyline of two quarterbacks going against each other in the playoffs? Oh, my God, that is phenomenal. Then you got the Chargers and Jags. You got Herbert and you got pretty boy Sunshine. Can Sunshine defeat the Chargers? Can the Chargers finally get past where they've been and get into the playoffs, for real get into the playoffs? Again, we're going to get that answer as well. I'm telling you, man, this is crazy. New England, he says, New England is fine. They do need wide receivers, though. However, in a comma, Jesus, do they need wide receivers? But you know what they need more than a wide receiver? An offensive coordinator that can actually do his job. And John Suggs does offer up Bill O'Brien, and I have seen reports where Bill O'Brien could be the next offensive coordinator for the Patriots. Even though, God, they really miss Josh McDaniel. I think Josh McDaniels could have done great things with Mac Jones, but it is what it is. God, I'll be on late night Saturday. There you go, man. Oh, Lord. Hey, listen, I don't blame you because there's going to be a lot to talk about after those Saturday games. But, Logan, man, what do you think about everything that I just talked about, man? What's your thoughts and opinions?
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be – the playoffs are set for a lot of pretty good even matchups, really. And like you said, we get a couple games Saturday, a couple games Sunday, a couple games Monday. I mean – 3 straight days of football ain't bad, guys, and it's going to be wild. And I can't wait, man. Playoffs are always good. You get to see the intensity. You get to see who's gonna come from obscurity. There's going to be any big teams that fall early. There's any teams that you don't know of who might not do nothing if they go on a big run. And hey, man, it's the playoffs, right? You can't. There's nothing better than any sport.
And then. Gonzo, what did you take away from what I was talking about earlier with Suggs and Pollard and all that? What do you think about, all the comments that we just talked about? Any thoughts or things that you want to talk about on that real quick?
Yeah, I think Patricia will be gone because him and Mac Jones haven't been getting along. I can see Bill O'Brien being the next offense coordinator there. I've also heard Cliff Kingsbury's name be mentioned. Which I don't know how smart of an idea that would be, but he's supposed to be an offensive guy, so I think that'd be maybe better than Patricia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they have to. You've got to get an offense. You cannot go into next season with what you had this season. It just won't work for you. And then you look at the last thing I want to talk about is you look at the Bills and the way that they played. I think it was Miami that they played. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they scored 2 touchdowns via kickoff. I mean, how much more of a preparational momentum game do you have than that? Going into the playoffs, coming off that kind of win, knowing that your boy DeMar Hamlin is going to be okay, and it takes that distraction away from the team. How dangerous is this Bills team going to be going to the playoffs, Logan?
I think the Bills are the favorites to win it, Jay. I mean, they've got a great team, obviously. We know what they've done in the regular season. I mean, they've got, a little bit of luck on their side, a little bit of faith on their side, whatever you want to call it. So I think Buffalo is the team to beat this year, right? I mean, obviously we know they came real close last year after that huge game against Kansas City, I believe, right? That overtime, double overtime, whatever it was, thriller. They lost on a coin flip, whatever. But this year, I think they're going for it, man. They've got a great team, and I think they're the favorites.
Yeah, Anthony Price does say real quick that the Commanders can save $26.2 million against the salary cap by releasing his ass. Yeah, I think so too. I think they should release him. And then he says, I see most people talking about Eagles and Bills, and he thinks more or less Bengals and Bills will be what happens. Or Bengals and 49ers, excuse me. Bengals and 49ers is what he says, or maybe even Chiefs 49ers. I think me and Gonzo were saying earlier on the afternoon show that we thought maybe it's going to be 49ers and Bills going at it. No, 49ers and Bengals. We have 49ers versus Bengals. Am I correct on that with Gonzo, or did we have differently?
Yeah, 49ers and Bengals. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm pretty sure we were pitting the 49ers and Bengals going at each other. And that's going to be a hell of a game. I really believe that's going to be one hell of a Super Bowl because everything that McCaffrey brings to the picture in terms of receiving and rushing, everything that Purdy does, that, you know, he, even though he's a rookie, he manages this offense like an orchestra, like a maestro, and he does really good at keeping everything balanced. And I think he's a very, big cog in this, obviously. And then you got Ayuk, you got Kittle, you got Debo all doing their job. And then you got Elijah Mitchell as your running back coming up the middle. And then you still have that great defense that the 49ers can give you. I'm telling you, man, the 49ers, I know we talked a lot about how good these Eagles teams look and how formidable the Eagles look. But this 49ers team, honestly, I was never a Garoppolo fan. That's one thing I always held against the 49ers was Garoppolo or Trey Lance. I'm not a believer in Trey Lance either. So when I see a guy like Purdy doing what Purdy's doing with this offensive-minded team and defense, what they're doing on defense, I'm looking at this 49ers team, and I'm thinking, like, how did we not put the 49ers in the Super Bowl?
I had the 49ers going with Garoppolo. I'd feel better about him if Garoppolo was still playing. I mean, don't get me wrong, Purdy's played well since he came in, but you're going into the playoffs where Garoppolo has that experience factor. But
that's a good point too, John.
I mean, it's true.
Defense, man, that 49ers defense is tough.
You know, and he goes on, John Suggs goes on to say that Burrow wants this more because of it being the revenge for last year, how close he came. Yeah, I think Burrow absolutely wants this to be back in the Super Bowl so he can get back for what he lost last year. I have no doubt in my mind about that. 49ers defense was on lock. Was on lock. Oh, no, they looked weak. I'm sorry. They looked weak against the Raiders. The 49ers do look – they could have looked better. I agree. But everybody has an off game. As long as they get the win, everybody has an off game. Trust me. A rookie quarterback never won the – and I get that. But just because he's never won it doesn't mean that history can't be made again. That's why they call it breaking history. We're not saying that Purdy's going to win the Super Bowl. But if he does, who's to say you can't break history or make new history? Maybe Purdy
I can guarantee you if he does, there's going to be about 4 movies made in the next 10 years about it.
Oh, man, bro, you're not even – no, that's no bullshit. I absolutely agree.
And we'll watch all of them.
Yes, we will. We will watch them all and review them here on the show. We'll be a sports movie reviews. That's what we need. We need to do that one day. We just need to review a movie one day.
Do that.
We'll take a break.
We'll watch along with the movie.
Yeah, there we go.
I was just watching Draft Day a few minutes ago.
Man.
Yeah, Draft Day. That's a good one.
Hey, if watching Draft Day doesn't get you fired up for Draft Day, then you better go watch Jerry Maguire.
There you go.
I'm just saying, both of those movies can get you hyped up for Draft Day. But let me ask you this real quick, guys. Justin Jefferson, if we could talk about him just for 1 second, he had 128 catches for 1,809 receiving yards. The record by Megatron was 1,964, set in 2012, but comes in and at 6th place for history. So right now, Justin Jefferson's regular season, came in at number 6 in all of NFL history. And he's not even but 2 or 3 years in the league? I'm just saying.
I think he was drafted in 20.
Around.
Yeah, we got a lot of young guys from that 2020, 2019 draft who are going to be big players, man. We got, Herbert, Burrow, Chase, Jefferson. I mean, you got a lot of young talent who have emerged really quick to help out their teams, who could be a formidable playoff contender, man.
Yeah, man. I don't know if it's history. I mean, the Cowboys have won many a playoff games, just not in recent history. So if we're talking recent history, yeah, they'll definitely be making history if they can do it. Hey, I agree, Anthony Price. It seems like forever since they've done that. Did Jefferson miss any games, John asks, this year? I don't think he has missed any games. If he has, I wasn't aware. Does anybody know if Justin missed any games this year? Logan, real quick, can you fact check that?
Yeah, give me just a minute. Just a minute, and I'll look it up.
All right. I don't think he has, but I would not be surprised if he did miss one. But I think he has played in all of the games that they've had. We'll come back to Logan in a second. I know he'll have that for us in a second. But again, Gonzo, let me ask you this. What upset do you see right now? What is the biggest upset that you see in playoff wild card weekend? Is there any team out there you think that would be a dramatic upset, or do you think it's going to go pretty much status quo?
You're not going to like my answer to this because I think the upset's going to be the Buccaneers beating the Cowboys.
Yeah, we're not sucks, but it can happen.
Earlier in the season, I wouldn't have said that because the Cowboys were. The Cowboys' defense was looking good, but over the last few games, they just haven't played well. Now, if they come out and play well, I think they'll beat the Tampa Bay. But the way the Cowboys have been playing and the Bucs getting in, and you know how Tom Brady can be in the playoffs. That one scares me. Also, the Giants and the Vikings. I do think the Giants are going to win that game.
Jay, Jefferson did not miss any. He did not miss any games this year. No.
So he did. So he played he played every game then.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, Anthony Price has Jacksonville beating the Chargers. That could be an upset. I don't think it's truly an upset, though. I kind of see where you're going, but the 49ers are so low down the totem pole that I don't really look at that as too much of an upset. Now, the Giants and Vikings would be a huge upset. And Dallas, yeah, if Tampa beats Dallas, that would be a big upset as well, given the fact that Tampa's gone through everything they've gone through.
I think maybe the biggest upset, too, that we haven't talked about, that it's a slim chance. But, guys, what if Miami is able to pull out the upset against Buffalo? Man, now that would break everyone's bracket.
Yeah, if Miami comes up with the win against Buffalo, there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to need to be answered. Number one, do we need to break up the Bills?
No,
Number two, where did it start, right?
There won't be as many questions because of the DeMar Hamlin situation. That'll give them a pass for this playoffs.
I mean, yeah, I can see. I hope they don't use that. I'm
not saying they'll use that.
No, I hope they don't either, because I think if you use that, then
I don't think the players or the coach will. I think that's what fans will say.
Oh yeah, and I get that. And
I hope not, because that's just cute,
right? But at the same time,
another upset that could happen if Lamar Jackson plays. Can't count the Ravens out against the Bengals.
That's true. We don't know. We haven't seen Lamar in a few weeks, so we don't know.
Okay, no, actually, I'm glad you said that for a couple of reasons, Gonzo. Number one, if Lamar loses in the playoffs, he comes back, he loses in the playoffs. What does that do to his contract here, if anything? And then number two. God, man, what would that mean for the Ravens if they came away with the win, though? What does that mean for Joe Burrow? And what does it mean? And what does it mean for Lamar in terms of how they go forward?
Well, the thing is, do we know? I know the offensive lineman for the Cincinnati, like Kappa. I know he got carted off. But do we know if he's playing this upcoming game? Because that's one of their few good guys on the O line. So.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so I mean, and also too, John mentioned the Ravens just gave a lot of money to I think Calais Campbell. So, I mean, if the Bengals all O-line does what they've done these last 2 years and just not be non-existent pretty much. I mean, it would not surprise me if Baltimore takes the win in this one in an upset. But also, if Baltimore loses, Jay, I don't know if it's going to. I mean, I think I've still been under the impression that Baltimore is going to give Lamar his money, that they're gonna keep him around, and pay him. But I think that if he loses this one, he's been hurt, and that's also not a good sign. But I think maybe they could give him a little bit less money if he loses this ball game, even though he's been hurt. He's coming back, and then you immediately get knocked out of the playoffs again. But then he could chalk it up to, well, I was hurt the last few weeks. I'm a little rusty. You know what I mean? But I still think he'll be with. I still think he'll be with Baltimore in the day coming the next season. And then if Cincinnati loses, man, it's just you can look at that O-line again. I mean, that's what lost in the Super Bowl. Burrow got sacked 10 times or whatever, and they didn't really address. They tried to address it. They threw a lot of money at guys, but it still didn't work.
I think
absolutely.
Well, we say a franchise tag Lamar Jackson. I don't think if this game, if he loses, will have a big significant toward his contract if they give him one. But I think they're going to tag him. I was saying this earlier. I know Jay will remember this for a couple months ago that they were going to sign Roquan Smith this year, and they were going to tag Jackson. Well, then today they signed Roquan Smith to $100 million, or yesterday to $100 million contract.
Okay, Smith, my bad, not Cable, yeah.
So I still think they'll tag
That's
Jackson.
what I want to talk about.
Jackson will try to play a trump card and sit out.
Yeah, right, and I'm glad you said that because that's something I want to talk about on Thursday's shows. We're going to dive a little bit more into the Lamar Jackson side of things. Number one, should he sit out the playoffs? Number two, should he sit out the regular season if he doesn't get paid? You know, what is next for Lamar Jackson? What is the ramifications for sitting out? What are the positives for sitting out? And we're just going to kind of bounce different ideas off each other. And we're going to try to do a little dissecting of this Lamar Jackson situation on Thursday. We'll get into that a little bit deeper on Thursday, and we'll get more opinions on that Thursday. But yeah, man, what a time to be alive, man. Let's see what's on our topics list. We already talked a little bit about the playoff recap. Thanks to Logan, who got it ahead of the game. Good job, Logan.
That's what I'm here for.
I know. Should the Lakers make a trade for basically anybody? Honestly, should they make a trade? And I think that I think that LeBron definitely thinks there needs to be a trade. To the point, I think, where he kind of said, "Y'all know what the fuck with the Q, F-U-Q. You know what the fuck should be happening." Yeah, LeBron. And now, I know he's not in a Lakers jersey. He's actually a Cavaliers jersey there. But I like this picture because I think this best describes the emotional state for which LeBron James is in. I think he's pissed off. I think he hates being where he's at. I think he hates feeling like he can't do anything about it. No matter how many points he scores, he can never get this Lakers team back to the promised land based on the roster and the way it's currently constructed. I think does that to them. I think, at some point they need to, and I know that Gonzo doesn't like to hear this, but I've said many a times that, Miles Turner and Buddy Hield are out there. You could bring those guys in and they could do wonders for your transitional game and your post-up game. But I know Gonzo doesn't want to hear that.
They don't make you bring them two in, OJ. That don't make the Lakers contenders.
I don't think it makes them contenders, but I think it gets them on the right path to chemistry.
The Pacers would be stupid to make that trade. But I agree. The Lakers do need to make a trade.
I think they got to do something to generate chemistry within that team.
I agree. Lakers need to make a trade, but they need to trade LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That's the only way they're going to get back to winning. And of course, I agree with you. Out there you're going to make right now this season that's going to help that team improve enough. And LeBron needs to quit crying about it, saying, well, you know what needs to happen. You're the reason this team's in this situation. You wanted all the young talent traded away. And then you wanted to bring in Russell Westbrook when they were talking about getting Hield Hield and somebody else that year. But no, he wanted Westbrook, and now he wants to whine because it's not working. So I don't feel sorry for him. He put that team together, play it out. And I think the Lakers need to trade him because I just don't see him getting enough out of Anthony Davis to try to build around an aging James. Not that he's not playing good still. It's going to be hard enough to get enough talent around him.
Yeah, and I agree a lot with what John Suggs is saying, which I think is pretty much the same thing as what you're saying, Chris. That they need to trade AD and Mr. Glass and get as many first-round picks as they can, including looking even for Pippen Jr. and Shaq Jr. that's on their team, seeing what they can get for them. And then I think they need to come back with a different approach. They're going to have to do a rebuild. There's no doubt that they do a rebuild. There's no doubt. And they're going to have to do like the Rockets. They're going to have to scrub their roster, start fresh, start building up to the draft, start building through, as many young guys as they can get on that team. And they're going to have to go through a very crappy rebuilding process, just like the Rockets are doing, just like Detroit's doing, and so forth. They're going to have to go through that process because the way this roster currently is, it looks good on paper, but then when you see it on the court, it just looks horrible.
Yeah, and also too, Jay, just from a cultural aspect, right? Talking about the Lakers, the ambiance, the history. When you are the third best team in California, behind the Clippers and behind the Sacramento Kings, that's an issue, right? And that's what LeBron's getting at. He's pissed that Sacramento's came from obscurity and they're doing better than them. The Clippers are doing better than them. And that, that once again, that the Lakers roster is you have those 2 or 3 big name guys, and it's a bunch of nobodies who no one's ever heard of, or guys who can't do anything to contribute a whole lot, right? I mean, their bench has, Westbrook, but that's about it. It's got a lack of perimeter shooting. We've been saying that for 3 years now. It's just a tough. I mean, for the love of God, they're working out. I saw Cody Zeller and someone else. Like, bro, that is not your answer. I don't know what they're doing, man. I don't know what this Lakers roster is going on, but I mean, let's be real here. When AD was healthy, right, those 2 weeks, they looked like a good team. They look like a team, but like we always say, as a scheduled topic, tweet, whatever, he got hurt, which sucks, right? Because he's a super talented player. Love watching him play, but unfortunately, he gets hurt a lot. And LeBron, as good as he is, he can't do it all himself anymore, man. He's too old. He's carrying this team as much as he can, but the guy needs help, man. And like Chris said, he's helped assemble this team since he's been there. He's been trading off young talent who, for one reason or another, weren't performing up to standard, who went elsewhere and performed greater or worse, to get veterans or other players he felt were better fit for this system. It didn't work. I mean, it hasn't worked since they won that championship 2 years ago, and they've been just struggling ever since 20 to get back into a high level of play in the Western Conference, and teams are passing by them.
Yeah, and it needs to be noted real quick, Anthony Price, if you don't mind, real quick, Logan. I'm not a Lakers fan. I am a Rockets fan.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a Cowboys fan. I've never been a Lakers fan. Please don't ever put Jay's name and the Lakers in the same sentence because that would make me puke. And so please don't do that. But I am a Rockets and Cowboys fan. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. John says, what do we do with Kawhi? Is he on the move this offseason, or what do the Clippers do with Kawhi Leonard? Logan? Let me go to Gonzo first. I meant to ask Gonzo earlier.
Yeah, Chris, you got this first.
Oh, man, I don't know what you do with Kawhi. I think Kawhi needs to decide if he still wants to play basketball.
I think so. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if I'm the Clippers, if you do keep him out, I don't think you give him a big. You can't sign him to no big extension or anything. He hasn't played enough.
No. I just checked, guys. He's only played in 18 games this season, and there's
Oh
been
wow!
around 40 or so. So he hasn't even played in half the games. Again, right?
Right.
I mean, as much as Kawhi Leonard is a dominant force when he's healthy, right? Kind of like Anthony Davis. Honestly, that's Mr. Glass A and B, 1 and 2 right there. I mean, guys who just they're super talented, top players in the world when they're on the court. But my God, I mean, Kawhi's been battling injury since he left San Antonio, and he just hasn't been able to get his footing here in Los Angeles. It kind of mirrors Anthony Davis, guys. I mean, they come on the court, do something great, and then he'd be hurt for half the season or whatnot, and by the time you come back to the playoffs, you've lost track of chemistry. And
Yeah,
I know that, winning wise, stats wise, the Clippers are better than the Lakers right now, but the Clippers are right at 500. They're 21-21 on the season. It's not like they're beating people up. I mean, they're fighting right now to stay in the playoffs for the time being. So I mean, it's not like they're doing a whole lot better than the Lakers. They only have 2 more wins. I mean, so that's another case. I know we all talk about the Lakers, how they're disappointing, but the Clippers, they're if they were doing a little bit worse, we'd be talking about them too. They've been rough this year too, man.
You're at a precipice, right? You're at a precipice with the Lakers. You're either A, going to trade Bron and AD, try to get as many draft picks as you can out of that scenario and rebuild and go forward. Or you're going to keep LeBron, you're going to keep AD. Maybe you finagle a trade here or there if you can do it for a low, mid-level example, role player or whatever that you can find out there. Or you just roll with what you got. But you're at a precipice. And that precipice is either A, cash in on Bron and AD's draft capital that they can bring in, or B, you keep riding with them. But if you're going to keep riding with them, then be used not only to the animosity and the crappy basketball player you're getting now, but you're also stunting 10 years from now what you could have built if you'd have done it now. So 10 years plus 4 or 5 more years, that's 15 years that I put before the Lakers get back to promiscuity. I'm just saying, the facts are in the numbers. You can't get around it. And not to mention all the draft capital they've given up to this point as well. What a time to be alive. All right, folks. We're going to move on to the last topic of the night. And then we're going to get out of here and relax. Gervonta, I hope I say his name right. Gervonta Davis, TKOs Hector Luis Garcia, not to be confused with Ryan Garcia, which I believe is the one that holds the belt, who he needs to build up enough clout to fight against next to try to get the belt. But the man is 28-0, 26 by the way of knockout. Leads April 15th for the fight against Ryan Garcia for the lightweight title. Again, this is a young guy that I think has a whole world at his fingertips if he can just put it together. But the TKO that he put on him was, I think it was 99 punches landed out of 239, and Garcia landed 55 punches out of 345. So you can see that 41% advantage of Davis's punches landed really put the knockout on Garcia to the point where Garcia went in on the 8th round bell, but when the 9th round came around, Garcia was nowhere to be found, and they actually wound up calling the fight, and he got the TKO. Probably the best choice of maneuvers for Garcia to just wrap it up and live to fight another day. But what do you guys make of the Garcia and Davis fight? Logan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge boxing guy. I'm not going to claim to be, but I have heard of Gervonta Davis, and I know he's kind of been on the rise for a while now. And I mean, I've looked at some highlights for this, and I mean, he was just knocking the stuff out of this dude, man. And it's another big win, like you said. The fight is sometime in April. You mentioned for the belt, and he's got a wave of momentum. What did you say? 28 wins. 26 by knockout.
26 by knockout.
I mean, that's super impressive, man. I don't care who it is you're facing, how often. I mean, that is the numbers don't lie, right? So another big win for him, building a lot of momentum. And I mean, like I say, he's got a couple months now to train, prep for that big title fight in April. And we'll see, man. We'll see if this wave of momentum can carry him over and get him some gold around his waist. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Gonzo Davis versus Garcia, TKO, my brother. You might be muted.
Oh no, Davis was real efficient, like and like normal. But so I mean, the fight went about like I expected it would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people thought it would go that direction. Now it's going to be, how do you think he does against Ryan Garcia in April 15th when he goes for that belt? Do you think he has a good chance over Ryan Garcia, or do you think he loses that fight, Gonzo?
I think it's going to be a real good fight. I think Davis has a shot.
Logan, how do you feel? You think, does Davis have a shot against Ryan Garcia?
Yeah, man. I think he's going to put up a fighting chance. I think this one could maybe go all the way, go a good distance. And I mean, I don't think this is going to be a quick knockout, left and right, get done in 2 rounds. I think this one could maybe go the distance. It's two really good guys, and I mean, going after a title, man, anything can happen. But I think this is going to be a battle come April.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And we'll have to wait and see what April brings when it gets here. But again, congratulations on your bout, Mr. Davis. Good job. Final thoughts, and we up out here. Gonzo, what are your final thoughts, brother?
Just thank everybody for joining us. Don't forget, tomorrow on Gonzo Sports Room, we're going to have an interview with pro wrestler Zay Gates. Young guy that's been rising in the ranks in the independent scene. So go, check out that interview tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And here at Unscripted, we appreciate everybody joining us.
Absolutely. Logan.
Yeah, man. Go off what Gonzo said. Appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. You see the ticker at the bottom. Follow us: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, wherever you're on social. Also, too, one thing we didn't get to mention tonight that I saw before we came on, Jay, Trevor Story, for our boy Pride. He's going to be out for most of the year, it looks like, again, unfortunately for him. I thought Draymond Green might have some surgery on his knee. So there's a couple storylines going on in sports, man. But once again, shout out. It's been crazy here in Georgia, Jay, with the Bulldogs win the championship again. Seeing all the interviews and whatnot, and being kind of just getting all involved in that, it's been cool. Also, too, quick, they announced, we can talk about it on Thursday. They announced the finalists who all's going into the College Football Hall of Fame into the year. They announced all the, I think, 20 guys. I know two. I think Reggie Bush is going in, and I saw that for coaches here, at least in the state of Georgia, Mark Richt, who was with Georgia for a while, and also Paul Johnson, who was with Georgia Tech. Both of them are going in, so shout out to both of them, as well as the other. It's a big name list. It's a lot of guys who all of us are familiar with, who played in the NFL for a long time or had really good college careers. So we can talk more about that on Thursday, about who all got in. And but yeah, man, once again, good show, everyone, and we'll be back here on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch base on the College Hall of Fame. We'll talk about the quarterbacks that are under pressure to win the Super Bowl. And then we'll also talk about Rodgers versus Brady 2022, who had the better campaign in 2022. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about where does Aaron Rodgers go from here in 2023. Is he going to line up for the Packers, or will he line up for a different team, or will he retire altogether? So we'll talk a little Aaron Rodgers future, Brady future, where it means for both of them, and where they're both going to go, and how they played this year. And then we'll also talk about a few other things. So make sure there's a couple of things that are on tap for Unscripted on Thursday. Make sure, like Logan said, you go to Unscripted Guys on Twitter, all one word, Unscripted Guys, all one word, Twitter, and then Unscripted Sports, all one word on TikTok. And don't forget, Unscripted is on YouTube. If you type in Unscripted with the date of the show you want to watch, it'll pop that up, as well as finding us on Facebook under Unscripted, or on All Sports, All Plays under Unscripted on Facebook. We're in both places. So, yeah, man, don't forget to catch Gonzo on tomorrow on the Round the Bases at 9. And you can catch me and him on the afternoon show. And then he'll follow it up with some picks and all kinds of craziness. So you don't want to miss all the things that Gonzo is doing over there at Gonzo's Sports Room. He's doing a lot of good stuff. Also, don't forget Logan is over there at 100 yards of football, as well as here. And it's been a good time. And we'll catch you guys Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They'll be good. Pele!